My husband said he's tired of babysitting our newborn already. Can you even imagine a husband screaming that he's sick of babysitting your newborn and calling her a brat? I thought that was the absolute worst, until I discovered he'd been planning to take her away from me all along. My world was about to be shattered in the most calculated, terrifying way imaginable. I was only 25, just starting my life, when I met him. He was 30, a supervisor at the office where I was a summer intern. The age gap never bothered me. In fact, I liked how mature and grounded he seemed. He was smart, charming, and I fell hard and fast. When he proposed after just 8 months, I said yes without a second thought. He was the perfect man, or so I believed, calm, level-headed, everything I thought I wanted. That's why his behavior after our daughter was born was such a shock. Our little girl was just 3 months old, and like most newborns, she wasn't sleeping through the night. And for weeks, I was the only one getting up with her. Every single cry, every feed, every diaper change. After 2 weeks of running on fumes, I finally sat him down, exhausted, and told him I needed his help. I needed his support. He sighed, rolling his eyes, saying I should have expected this from a newborn, but he'd try to help.
He did.
For exactly 1 week. He woke up a few times, soothed her. I felt a glimmer of hope. Then, just like that, it stopped. Whenever I tried to wake him, he'd just grumble, pull a pillow over his head, and pretend he couldn't hear her. I felt utterly, completely alone in my own home. Desperate, I called my mom and my mother-in-law. Both of them, to their credit, were horrified. My mother-in-law, bless her heart, called him the very next day and gave him an earful. She told him he needed to step up, that he was a father, not just some bystander. And just like that, it snapped him into action. He started helping at night, watching her during the day, so I could finally get an hour or two to myself. He'd even told me to quit my job when I got pregnant, so I was home with her 24/7. Those small breaks felt like a lifeline, like I could finally breathe. I thought, okay, maybe we're finally getting through this. I was so wrong. 3 weeks later, it all imploded. The baby started crying in the middle of the night, and he shot up in bed, screaming. Full-blown, blood-curdling scream. I am sick of this. His yelling only made our daughter cry harder. I rushed to her nursery, but he followed me, still shouting. He called me lazy. He said he was sick of babysitting our little brat, and that this was my duty, a wife's duty, not his. He roared that I knew what I was signing up for when I got pregnant, and I was unreasonable to expect help. I didn't argue. I couldn't. I just stood there, holding our screaming baby, tears streaming down my face as he yelled at us in the dark. That night, I slept in the nursery, and for the first time, I was genuinely afraid of him. From that night on, a slow, cold resentment began to build in me. I stopped asking for help. I stopped talking to him about anything that wasn't absolutely necessary. I moved through our house like a ghost, taking care of our daughter completely alone, while he played video games, watched TV, or went out with his friends. I kept telling myself it would get easier when the baby slept better. I kept telling myself I was overreacting, that all new parents went through rough patches. Then last Tuesday happened. My mother-in-law came over unannounced while he was at work. She sat me down in the kitchen, her eyes full of concern, and asked if everything was okay. I instinctively said, "Fine." She just stared at me, then pulled out her phone. "My son," she said, her voice shaking, "called me last night to complain about you." My heart pounded. She showed me the texts. My husband had told her I was an unfit mother, that he was considering filing for full custody, and that he'd been documenting everything I did wrong since the baby was born. He'd even already spoken to a lawyer. My mother-in-law's hands were trembling as she held the phone. She swore she didn't believe a word of it. She said she knew exactly who her son really was, and that's why she came over, behind his back. I sat there, paralyzed, reading his messages. He described me as mentally unstable, neglectful, potentially dangerous to our child. He talked about presenting himself as the responsible parent, while his crazy wife fell apart. It was chilling. She grabbed my hand, her grip surprisingly strong. Listen very carefully, she said. I need to tell you something about my son that I should have told you before you married him. Something about his first marriage, a secret the family was instructed to never, ever mention. She reached across the kitchen table, her fingers cold, her whole body shaking. What I'm about to tell you, she whispered, will change everything you thought you knew about the man you married. I was already sitting, but I pulled my chair even closer, my daughter asleep in her carrier beside me, her soft breathing the only sound in the room. My mother-in-law took a deep, shaky breath. He was married before. The words didn't even make sense at first. I just stared. Her name was Mariana Thornton, she continued. And that marriage ended badly, because he tried to control every single part of her life. She said Mariana was young, just like me when they met. And he used the exact same tactics on her. Isolation, criticism, making her feel crazy for wanting basic support. My stomach lurched. She pulled out her phone again, scrolling. More texts from my husband to her, this time about Mariana. He'd written that Mariana went crazy after their baby was born. He said he had to document everything for the courts because she was unstable. My mother-in-law's voice cracked. I believed him back then, she choked out. I didn't support Mariana when she needed help, and I've regretted it every single day since. She watched her son destroy that woman's confidence, paint her as unfit, when all he wanted was control. I looked at the screen, a cold sickness spreading through me. The words were almost identical to what he was saying about me. Unfit mother, unstable, dangerous to the child. It was like reading a script he'd used before. She kept talking. Mariana struggled alone for months, trying to prove she was a good mother, while my husband meticulously built his case. But Mariana's father, Elliot, finally got involved. He hired a lawyer, Karen Owens, who saw through it immediately. The lawyer found all of my husband's documentation, recognized the pattern. Normal new parent struggles twisted into evidence of mental illness. A crying baby, proof of neglect. A messy house, dangerous living conditions. The custody evaluator saw through it too. She recognized he was creating a false story to gain control, not because he actually wanted to parent. He just wanted to win. The evaluator's report was clear. Mariana got full custody. My husband was allowed only supervised visits. He went to 2. Then, he stopped showing up. He abandoned his own child rather than accept he couldn't control the situation anymore. The family was told never to mention it, to protect his fresh start. But his mother knew better now. She saw him doing the exact same thing to me, and she couldn't stay quiet this time. I sat there, holding my sleeping daughter, and everything clicked into place. The quick engagement, the age gap making him seem more mature. His insistence I quit my job, making me financially dependent. The way he helped just enough to look good, then stopped the moment the pressure was off. The screaming fit in the nursery, a calculated move, perhaps, to provoke a reaction he could use. The documentation he was building right now while I thought we were just having a rough patch. It was all deliberate, all calculated. He had done this before, and he was doing it again. My mother-in-law pulled out a piece of paper. Elliot Thornton's number. Call him today, she urged. His lawyer, Karen Owens, specializes in cases exactly like this. He'll know what your husband is planning. You don't have much time. My hands started shaking now, just like hers. She hugged me, apologizing again for not warning me, saying she thought he'd changed. She promised to help me in any way she could, even testify. Then she left, before her son came home. I waited until his meetings, then I dialed Elliot's number. He answered on the second ring. When I told him who I was, there was a long, heavy silence. Then, his voice tired and sad, he said, I wondered if he'd do this again to someone else. He told me Mariana had a hard time trusting people after what she went through. The custody battle destroyed her confidence, even though she won. Years of therapy to undo the damage. Elliot asked, was my husband documenting things, making accusations? Yes. Isolated me from my job and support? Yes. Helped just enough to look good, then blamed me when no one was watching? Yes. All yes. He warned me that Mariana went through hell because she didn't act soon enough. By the time she realized what was happening, he had months of documentation. You need to contact Kieran Owens immediately, he urged. Start your own documentation before he builds his false case any further. Don't wait. Not even one more day. He gave me Kieran's direct number. I called Kieran right away. His assistant put me on hold, and less than a minute later, Kieran picked up. Elliot had already texted him. He had an opening for me tomorrow morning. I said yes, immediately. Bring any documentation, the texts from my mother-in-law, everything. Write down everything I could remember about his behavior since the baby was born, dates, times, every refusal, every yell, every time he made me feel like a failure. Details mattered. The next morning, my mother-in-law watched the baby. I hadn't slept, spending most of the night writing. The list was longer than I expected. Kieran's office was downtown. Nervous, I walked in. He was a man in his 50s, kind eyes, gray hair. He stood to shake my hand, then gestured me to sit. Start from the beginning, he said. I told him everything. Meeting my husband, the quick engagement, quitting my job, the sleepless nights, his refusal to help, the screaming fit, his mother showing me the texts. Kieran listened, taking notes on a legal pad. When I finished, I showed him the photos of the texts. His expression hardened. Your husband's pattern, he stated, is textbook manipulation, designed to gain custody and control. He said men like my husband didn't want to be primary parents. They wanted to win, to punish their partners for not being controllable. His documentation was meant to create a false narrative. Him, stable, me, falling apart. Family court saw this all the time, he explained, but it was hard to prove unless you knew what to look for. Do you have any documentation of your own? He asked. I showed him my handwritten list. He nodded. Good start. But we need more detail. He handed me a fresh notebook. Write down everything, he instructed. Specific dates, times. Every diaper you changed alone. Every night feeding. Every time he played video games while you begged for help. Every time he went out while you stayed home, exhausted. Photos too, he added, of the baby supplies, the nursery, evidence of childcare. Document the unequal division of labor in concrete, undeniable ways. Kieran leaned back. He explained that my husband was taking normal new parent struggles and twisting them. A crying baby became proof I couldn't soothe her. A messy living room, evidence of neglect. My short temper from lack of sleep, anger issues. He was weaponizing my exhaustion. You need to build your own record that shows the truth, Kieran said. That you're doing all the childcare. That he refuses to help. That his outburst made your home unstable. Document any other controlling behavior, making me quit my job, isolating me, financial control. These patterns weren't about being a good father. They were about control, using our daughter as a tool. He warned me to be careful, strategic. My husband was steps ahead. But I had advantages he didn't expect. His own mother, Elliot, potentially Mariana. You have the truth on your side, he said, even if it will take work to prove it. I drove home, the notebook on the passenger seat, my daughter asleep in her car seat. I kept glancing back at her, a cold fear gripping me. He was building a case to take her away. At home, I put her down for a nap, then sat at the kitchen table, the notebook open. I started writing. Everything from the past 3 months. The day I first asked for help, and he told me I should have expected this. Every single night, I got up alone. Every time I begged him for an hour, and he said he was too busy. The afternoon he yelled in the nursery, calling her a brat. Every time he went out while I handled everything. The pattern, when written down, was stark. 3 months of me doing everything, him doing nothing but complain. Treating fatherhood like an annoying chore he could avoid. I filled 12 pages. My hand cramped. The next morning I called Kieran. He told me to keep adding to it daily. Then he suggested something crucial. Take my daughter for a checkup and mention the stress at home. Doctors are mandated reporters, he explained. A medical professional documenting what I was going through could be vital later. Be honest about my exhaustion, his lack of support. I scheduled an appointment. At the checkup, the pediatrician, Alina, weighed my daughter, smiled, said she was growing well. Then she looked at me. Her smile vanished. "How are you doing?" she asked. I must have looked terrible. She asked about sleep, about help at home. I tried to hold it together, but the dam broke. I just started crying. I told her everything. The sleepless nights, his refusal to help, him screaming at us, feeling utterly alone. Alina listened, took notes. "What you're experiencing is incredibly hard," she said gently. "Asking for help with a newborn is normal, healthy. New parents are supposed to work together. It's not right for you to handle everything alone." She asked if I felt safe. I said yes, but I wasn't sure anymore. She made more notes. "I'm documenting everything," she said, "to make sure you and your daughter have the support you need." Leaving that appointment, I felt like someone finally believed me. He came home later, acting completely normal. Asked about my day, smiled, like we were a happy family. I told him the baby's checkup was fine. He nodded, then went to watch TV. I stood in the kitchen, watching him. He had no idea. No idea his mother had warned me. No idea I'd talked to Elliot, met with Kieran. He thought he was still in control. And I needed to keep it that way, while I prepared. I couldn't let him know I was building my own case. Not yet. Over the next week, I started staying at my mother's on nights he worked late. He said it was good for me to have her support. He never asked when I'd be back, never said he missed us. He just seemed glad we were gone. It confirmed my darkest suspicion. He saw us as burdens, not family. He didn't want to be a father or a husband. He just wanted to win whatever twisted game he was playing. My mother helped me get some real sleep for the first time in months. And, crucially, she helped me document. We went back to my apartment one afternoon while he was at work. She photographed everything. The sink full of bottles I'd washed, the folded laundry in baskets, the perfectly clean nursery. Then she photographed his gaming setup in the spare room. Expensive computer, games neatly lined up. The contrast was stark. I was managing all the baby care, he was gaming. Visual proof of the imbalance. I met Kieran again. Showed him the photos, my updated notebook. "You're doing exactly what you need to do," he praised. Then, he suggested something I dreaded. Suggest marriage counseling to him. My heart sank. "He'll probably refuse or try to sabotage it," Kieran explained. "Either way, it will show he's not interested in fixing the marriage. It will prove his focus is on building a custody case, not being a better partner or father." I didn't want to go to counseling with him, but I understood. It was another piece of evidence to protect my daughter. That weekend, over dinner, I brought it up. "Things have been hard," I said, my voice steady despite my internal fear. "Maybe we should try marriage counseling." He immediately got defensive, said I was overreacting. I stayed calm, insisted it would help. He grew agitated. "You're trying to make me look bad," he accused. "Why would you think that?" I asked, "if it's supposed to help both of us?" He stood, slammed his chair back. "You're being unreasonable." Then he grabbed his keys, stormed out, and I heard his car screech away. I sat there alone with my daughter, adding it all to my notebook. Date, time, every word. An hour later, a knock on the door. It was my neighbor. "Everything okay?" she asked, concerned. I heard shouting. I told her we'd had an argument. She looked worried. "I've heard him yelling before," she confessed. "Just wanted to make sure you were safe." I thanked her, and after she left, I wrote down that conversation too. A witness. Just in case. My mother-in-law called the next day. She felt guilty, she said, for not speaking up sooner. She should have warned me. But the family had agreed to never speak of his first marriage. "I'm done protecting him," she declared, her voice firm. She offered to write a statement about Mariana, how he was following the same pattern with me. She'd testify, if needed. I said I couldn't ask that. "That's exactly why I have to," she insisted. "Being his mother means I have a responsibility to stop him from hurting more people." I thanked her, promised to tell Kieran. Hanging up, holding my daughter, a fragile hope bloomed. Maybe, just maybe, I could protect her. 3 days later, my husband's mood shifted dramatically. He came home Thursday evening, found me feeding the baby, and sat next to me. "We should try marriage counseling," he said, too casually. I looked at him carefully. The sudden change felt wrong. He pulled out his phone, showed me a therapist's website, Whitney Flores, family counseling specialist. He'd been thinking, he claimed, and realized we needed professional help. I told him I'd think about it. After he went to bed, I texted Kieran. He called me back in 5 minutes. He's probably already talked to her, Kieran warned. Abusers often suggest therapists they've consulted, or who have reputations for believing whoever contacts them first. Insist on choosing your own therapist and watch how he reacts. The next morning, I told my husband I appreciated his openness, but I wanted to pick the therapist myself. His face changed instantly. "Why can't you just use the one I found?" he demanded. I explained I wanted someone neither of us had a connection to for fairness. He stood up, furious. "You're being controlling," he yelled. "I'm trying to fix our marriage, and you're making it impossible." He called me unreasonable, said I always had to have things my way. My hands shook, but I stayed calm. I pulled out my phone, typed his reaction into my notes. "What are you doing?" he spat. "Keeping track of our conversations about counseling," I replied honestly. "You're trying to build a case against me," he shrieked. I didn't argue. I just kept typing while he yelled, until he grabbed his keys and stormed out for work, early. I called Kieran. "His reaction proves my point," he said. "Someone who genuinely wants to fix their marriage wouldn't care which therapist they saw." That afternoon, I researched family therapists. Found Dr. Sarah Tan, good reviews, experience with custody cases, evening appointments. Booked our first session for the following Tuesday. The next week was tense. He barely spoke to me. I continued caring for our daughter alone. My mother-in-law called, sounding doubtful but hopeful when I told her about counseling. Tuesday evening arrived. We drove in silence. Dr. Tan's office was calm, inviting. She met us, led us into her office. The moment we walked in, his entire demeanor transformed. He smiled, shook Dr. Tan's hand warmly. Then he launched into a story about how worried he was about me, how stressed I'd been, how I pushed him away despite his attempts to help. He loved our daughter more than anything, just wanted our family to be happy. I sat there listening to him lie, feeling sick to my stomach. Dr. Tan turned to me. "Your perspective?" I told her about the sleepless nights, doing all the baby care alone, him screaming at us, calling our daughter a brat. He interrupted. "She's exaggerating. All new parents get frustrated sometimes." Dr. Tan held up a hand. "Please let her finish." I continued, about him refusing to help, gaming while I was exhausted. He shook his head, a performance of disbelief. Dr. Tan started asking specific questions. "Who does nighttime feedings?" "Me." "Diapers during the day?" "Me." "Doctor appointments?" "Me." "Is this accurate?" she asked him. He mumbled he helped when he could, but he had to work. "Work hours?" 9 to 5. "Evenings?" "I need time to decompress." "How much time do you spend directly caring for the baby each day?" He hesitated. "Maybe an hour?" "Generous," I chimed in. "More like 20 minutes." Dr. Tan wrote notes. "How many hours do you spend caring for the baby?" she asked me. "Basically all of them, except when she's sleeping." "Breaks?" "Only when my mother comes over." "How often?" "Once or twice a week, an hour or two." Dr. Tan looked at my husband. "Do you think this division of labor is fair?" He looked indignant. "She's a stay-at-home mom. Child care is her job." "Housework?" "I take out the trash." "Dishes, laundry, cleaning?" "That's also her job." The session ended. Dr. Tan asked us to return next week. We walked to the car in silence. The moment the door closed, he exploded. "She's biased against men. Unfair questions, designed to make me look bad. I'm not going back to someone who's already decided I'm the problem." I said she just asked who did what. Her tone was judgmental. "She's one of those feminists who thinks fathers are useless." I stayed quiet, driving home. He refused to schedule another appointment. The next day, I texted Dr. Tan. She said it wasn't uncommon and offered individual sessions. I said yes. Over the next few weeks, I met with Dr. Tan alone. She helped me see patterns I'd missed. We talked about how we met, age gap, quick engagement, why I quit my job. He suggested it would be better for the baby. I'd said, realizing I hadn't really thought about it. He just seemed so sure. She asked about our dating life. I realized he had always made the decisions. Friends outside our relationship? Most had faded. He always wanted us to spend time as a couple. Control doesn't always look like yelling and anger, Dr. Tan explained. Sometimes it looks like romance and concern. The quick engagement meant I had no time to see who he really was. The age gap gave him power. Quitting my job made me financially dependent. Isolating me from friends made me emotionally dependent. I sat there, crying, as the pieces clicked into place. I finally understood what had happened to me. Meanwhile, he started working late more often. Big project, extra hours, he claimed. I didn't question it at first. Then my mother-in-law called. Her sister had seen him at a coffee shop, 6 p.m., talking to a man in a suit. His lawyer. He'd admitted it when confronted. He was preparing his custody case, making sure everything was ready. My mother-in-law called to warn me immediately. I thanked her, then called Kieran. We need to act fast, he said. If my husband filed first, he'd control the narrative. We needed to file for legal separation before he filed his custody motion. Do we have enough evidence? I asked, my voice trembling. Your documentation, the therapist's notes, your mother-in-law's statement, the pattern from his first marriage, Kieran rattled off. It's enough. We filed that Friday. Kieran arranged for him to be served at his office on Monday morning. I spent the weekend at my mother's, terrified of his reaction. Monday afternoon, my phone started ringing. Him. I didn't answer. 6 more calls. Then the text started. I can't believe you'd do this to me. I love you. We can work this out. You're making a huge mistake. You're going to regret this. I'll make sure you never see our daughter again. Then, quickly, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I forwarded every single one to Kieran. 3 days later, Kieran called. My mother-in-law had sent her written statement. Could I come review it? I left my mother with the baby, drove downtown. Kieran's office, 4th floor of a brick building. I sat across from his desk as he slid a folder to me. 6 pages. She described his first marriage to Mariana, how he became controlling, critical. How he convinced Mariana to quit her job, isolated her, then documented her after their baby was born, building a case of instability. She admitted she believed him then, regretted not supporting Mariana, and refused to make the same mistake twice. She stated clearly, he was following the exact same pattern with me. She would testify. I looked up at Kieran, my eyes stinging. This is powerful, he said. Judges pay attention when a parent's own mother testifies against them. Was I ready to move forward? Yes. He made copies, filed them that afternoon. The next morning, he called again. Elliot Thornton had offered to provide his own statement. And Mariana was willing to speak with me directly.
My choice, he said.
It might help me understand my husband's tactics. I sat, phone in hand. Part of me was terrified to know how bad things could get. But I knew I needed to be prepared. I want to talk to Mariana, I told him. He passed along my number. 2 days later, an unknown number rang. Mariana, a woman's voice asked. We talked for 2 hours. She described exactly what I was experiencing, the documentation, the accusations, the isolation. He acted like a perfect father in public, refused to help at home. He told everyone she was unstable, neglecting their baby. But her father got involved, hired Kieran, and the evaluator saw through it. She warned me. He would try to provoke me into reactions he could use against me. Start arguments in public, send angry messages. Stay calm, she urged. Document everything. Focus on your daughter. Let him reveal his true character. I thanked her. Call anytime, she said. If you need support from someone who understands. After we hung up, I sat on the couch and cried for 20 minutes. But these tears were different. Not helpless tears. I was crying because someone else had survived this. And I knew, with a certainty I hadn't felt in months, that I could too. The next few weeks were surreal. I knew his plans, but he didn't know I knew. I stayed calm, focused on our daughter, documented every interaction. His behavior became more unpredictable. The court had set a temporary custody schedule. He was to have our daughter every other weekend. His first scheduled visitation was a Saturday morning. I had everything ready by 9:30. Diaper bag packed. I waited. 10 o'clock came. 10:30. 11 o'clock, I texted him. No response. Noon, I called. Voicemail. At 2 p.m., he finally texted. Been busy, forgot. He blamed me for not reminding him. I forwarded the text to Kieran. Good evidence, Kieran noted. He's not interested in parenting, just control. The court appointed a custody evaluator to make a recommendation. My husband went first. I went 2 days later. In her office, she asked basic questions about me, then our daughter's routine. I described a typical day. All night feedings, all diaper changes, all doctor appointments, all meals. What did your husband contribute? He played video games, went out with friends. I told her about my mother and mother-in-law support. She seemed particularly interested in my mother-in-law, asked about our relationship. I explained how supportive she'd been, even providing a statement. The evaluator noted she'd speak with her and with Elliot Thornton. Did you know about the first marriage? She asked. Yes. How did that information make you feel? It helped me understand his behavior was a pattern, not something I caused. She nodded. I showed her everything. My notebook, the dates, times, every incident. The texts where he called me unstable. The aggressive messages after he was served. I even showed her the notes from Whitney Flores, which ironically documented his refusal to participate in counseling. She spent a long time asking specific questions. She was particularly interested in the parallels with Mariana. Has he ever been physically violent? No, I said, but his anger felt threatening. Did you ever feel afraid in your own home? Yes, especially after he screamed at us in the nursery. She wrote everything down, said she'd complete her evaluation in several weeks, including home visits and interviews. I left, feeling like someone had truly listened for the first time. 3 weeks later, Kieran called. His lawyer had a settlement offer. My husband would agree to shared custody if I didn't pursue child support. Is that a good deal? I asked. Absolutely not, Kieran said firmly. He doesn't want a parent. He wants control and to avoid child support. If he genuinely wanted to be involved, he wouldn't have missed his first visitation or refused therapy. This offer benefits him, not your daughter. We rejected it. 20 minutes later, he called, screaming. I was unreasonable, vindictive, keeping his daughter from him. He'd make me regret it. I stayed silent, then hung up. He left a voicemail, calling me names I won't repeat. I forwarded it to Kieran. More evidence of his inability to communicate. The evaluator scheduled home visits. Mine was Tuesday. I cleaned the apartment meticulously. She walked through each room, taking notes. The nursery stocked with bottles, food. The baby-proofing. She seemed satisfied. My home was clearly set up for childcare. 2 days later, she visited his apartment. Kieran called that evening, concerned. His apartment had no baby supplies, no safety measures, no evidence he'd prepared for an overnight stay. No crib, no changing table. He told the evaluator he planned to buy everything. The report noted his lack of preparation, his lack of genuine interest. 6 weeks after our interviews, the evaluator submitted her final report. Kieran called me to his office. I sat across from him as he read sections aloud. It described his lack of preparation, his focus on appearance over substance, the concerning pattern from his previous marriage. He was more interested in winning than caring for our daughter. His missed visitation, his refusal of therapy, his aggressive communication style. The statements from my mother-in-law and Elliot confirming the manipulation. Her recommendation was clear: primary physical custody for me, supervised visitation every other weekend for him. Parenting classes before any unsupervised time. This is the best possible outcome, Kieran said, looking up. Relief washed over me like a tidal wave. His reaction was immediate and explosive. He fired his lawyer, hired an aggressive one. Kieran told me not to worry. The damage was done. The court had an objective assessment of his fitness. His mother's testimony, Mariana's account, the texts, the therapy notes. "We're in a strong position," Kieran assured me. I looked at my daughter, sleeping peacefully in her crib. I promised her I'd keep her safe. The custody hearing was 3 weeks later. I sat next to Kieran, my mother-in-law behind me. The courtroom was small, stark. The judge, a woman in her 50s, entered. He was called to the stand first. Shoulders back, chin up, dark suit. He talked about how much he loved our daughter, how I was keeping him away, how I'd turned his own mother against him with lies. He manipulated everyone. His voice cracked at the right moments. He looked directly at the judge. I watched his performance, feeling sick. Then Kieran stood for cross-examination. He asked about his first marriage. His lawyer objected. Irrelevant. The judge overruled it. He shifted. My first marriage ended badly because my ex-wife had serious mental health issues. Kieran asked if he had children from that marriage. Yes, one daughter. How often do you see her? The courtroom went silent. He stammered. The situation was complicated. Kieran repeated the question. I haven't seen her in several years, he admitted. The custody arrangement made it too difficult. Did that arrangement include supervised visitation? Kieran pressed. His face went red. Yes, at first. But his ex-wife poisoned the evaluator against him. The judge leaned forward. Why did you stop attending visits? She asked him directly. If you cared so much about being a father? He stammered about humiliation, expense. She made a note. You may step down. Kieran called my mother-in-law. She walked slowly, placed her hand on the Bible. Her voice shook, but she looked at the judge. She described his first marriage, the same pattern. Accusations of instability, documentation, control. She believed him then, regretted it deeply, watched him destroy Mariana. When I called, she recognized the pattern. She couldn't stay silent again. His lawyer tried to suggest bias. She cut him off. I love my son, she said, but I love the truth more. I couldn't watch him hurt another woman and another child the way he hurt Mariana. The judge thanked her. Kieran called Mariana. I saw him go pale. Mariana walked in, nervous but determined. She described her marriage to him, the charm, the quick engagement, his insistence she quit her job, the explosion after their baby was born, the accusations, the documentation, the custody battle. The evaluators saw, through his manipulation. Supervised visits. He attended twice, then vanished. How old is your daughter now? The judge asked Mariana. 7. Has her husband made any attempt to contact her in the past 5 years? No, none at all. The judge turned to my husband. Why did you abandon your first child, if you are so devoted to fatherhood now? He stood up, even though he hadn't been called, shouting that Mariana was lying, that she kept his daughter from him, that the system was biased against fathers. His lawyer tried to make him sit. He kept talking, voice getting louder. The evaluator in my first case was incompetent. This one is the same. Everyone is against me. The judge slammed her gavel. Sit down and be quiet. The pattern is clear and relevant. Your testimony has been contradicted by multiple witnesses, including your own mother. His lack of preparation for childcare, his abandonment of his first child, showed his real priorities. His lawyer objected again. The judge overruled. I've heard enough. She granted me primary physical custody. Supervised visitation for him. Every other weekend. Child support. Parenting classes. No unsupervised time until he demonstrated consistent attendance and appropriate interaction. He stood up, shouted, This is unfair. The system is rigged. Everyone is lying. The judge warned him of contempt. He grabbed his briefcase and stormed out, slamming the door. The sound echoed in the quiet room. I sat there, a wave of profound relief washing over me. My daughter was safe. I had legal protection. Kieran squeezed my shoulder. We won. My mother-in-law hugged me, tears streaming. She apologized again. What matters, I told her, is that you spoke up now. She was proud of me. I agreed to let her be involved in our lives. She had proven she would stand up for what was right. We left the courthouse. I called my mom, who cried on the phone, promising to come celebrate. I picked up my daughter, held her close. Everything will be okay now. The next few weeks felt like learning to breathe again. I started looking for part-time remote work, something that would let me earn money, but still be there for my daughter. My mom helped with childcare. Slowly, I started feeling like myself again, not the exhausted ghost I'd become. We established routines. I baby-proofed the apartment properly, creating a calm, safe space. My confidence returned in small pieces. I could do this. I could take care of my daughter without his help, without his criticism. His supervised visits started. He showed up 30 minutes late for the first one, spent most of the time on his phone. The supervisor noted he held her for maybe 15 minutes. He missed the second visit completely. The third, he complained the entire time about the supervision. Over 3 months, he attended only half his scheduled visits. Each report documented his distraction, minimal interaction, his complaints. He never completed the parenting classes. He paid child support only after Kieran filed a motion. It became clear. He didn't want to be a father. He wanted to win. He wanted control. When the court took that away, he lost interest. 6 months later, my life was completely different. I had steady remote work, enough to cover expenses. My mom helped with childcare. My daughter thrived. She was sleeping better, hitting milestones. Her pediatrician commented on how much healthier and happier she seemed. And me? The constant anxiety, the fear had faded. I could sleep without worrying. I could make decisions without second-guessing myself. My mother-in-law visited regularly, a genuine source of support. She helped with groceries, laundry, played with her granddaughter, without any agenda. I stayed in touch with Mariana, too. We talked on the phone. She gave me advice about dealing with his continued attempts at manipulation through texts and emails. She helped me recognize his patterns, stay strong. She told me it would get easier, and she was right. I thought about Elliot sometimes, how his courage to speak up had changed everything. He didn't have to get involved, but he did. My mother-in-law did the same. They both chose truth over family loyalty, and that choice saved me and my daughter. My career was slowly rebuilding. My daughter was healthy, happy, surrounded by people who genuinely cared about her. Life wasn't perfect. Money was tight, and yes, I got tired sometimes, managing everything alone. But it was honest. It was safe. And nobody was gaslighting me, documenting my failures, or threatening to take my child away. What would you have done in my shoes? Have you ever had to fight for your sanity, or for someone you love, against a manipulator? I'd really love to hear your thoughts in the comments below.